I'm going to show you how to fix and heal your brain in this short video. Now, 93% of people are out of their right minds. That's almost our entire population, especially in the modern world. And the reason they are is because of stress. You're like, really? Yeah, let me show you something. Only 7% of the people are actually in their right mind. And when I mean by right mind, I'll explain that in a moment. But stress is the real reason. Now, a lot of experts will tell you they don't have enough information, or they're lacking motivation, or different things. They have a million different things they tell you. But stress, or what's known as the stress response, it's our automatic survival mechanism that's built into our body. It's part of our autonomic nervous system. It happens automatically. Breathing, digestion, it's automatic. So what is the stress response? You've probably heard of it. It's flight, fight, or freeze. Like I said, it's automatically triggered when we're exposed to danger. Physical danger or emotional danger. And it's for basically when the peanut butter hits the fan. Okay? It's built-in survival mechanism. And this is what's switching everybody's brain to the wrong part of the brain. I'll explain that in a moment. Now, so much of the self-help industry focuses on the what people are doing, okay, versus the why. This video was all about the why people are doing what they're doing, not just the what. That's how you find the real answer, and that's how you fix the problem, okay? So what I mean by not in their right mind, and only 7% are in their right mind, is I just heard a statistic today that said that online courses, only about 7% of the people actually buy them and finish them, which that makes sense. So our brain here, okay, the command center, is called the prefrontal cortex. It's this part of the brain right here, all right? And this controls our rational thinking, our creative thinking. It helps us to respond to different stimuli or threats or anything, okay? That's our command center. Now, we have this thing called the amygdala, which is a very small part of the brain right here in the stem of the brain, and that controls the stress response. And the stress response is controlled by this tiny part of the brain that's very good at getting you out of danger. It helps you fight, flight, or freeze. If you're confronted by an angry dog on your morning walk, automatically your body switches into the fight, flight, or freeze response automatically, and it gives you the three options. You're going to fight it, you're going to run away from it, or you're going to freeze and play dead. That's it. Now, in the emotional world, if you're late for work, or you're being yelled at by your boss, or you had a problem with your family, it could trigger the same thing too. And in this day, most people have emotional stress, not physical stress. It's the same thing. Your body reacts the same way. So what happens is that this is really good for what we call the sympathetic response, but it's terrible at doing rational, creative, fixing problems, okay? Many people are in this thing. I would say over 93% of people are in the stress response, and it only takes a little bit of stress to trigger the stress response. This part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is our most evolved part of the brain, and it's very good at getting you out of problems. You ever notice how a salesperson puts pressure on you? Okay, they put pressure on you to trigger the stress response. So now you make emotional decisions versus rational decisions. It happens in a court of law too with attorneys. But anyway, the problem is if you're in a chronic stress response, always stressed out, the amygdala actually gets bigger. And the prefrontal cortex, your command center, gets smaller. It shrinks, okay? Interesting that when people have mental issues, they go see a psychiatrist, also known as a shrink. Well, believe it or not, it's because their prefrontal cortex is shrinking. So that's why I need to see a shrink. Okay, so also what happens is in 21 days, this is the thing, people tell you in 21 days you create a habit. You're not creating a habit in 21 days. You're developing new neural pathways. So when you're chronically stressed, you're getting new neural pathways in the brain. That's why it's so hard for people to change. Okay, they say just change your habits. You can't change your habits. You got You got roadworks in your brain. You got wires in your brain that have been developed, okay? You just can't change those things, okay? Motivation and willpower is not enough for most people. That's why almost every diet that anybody goes on fails. That's why people who have financial issues struggle with that, because you say live on a budget. That makes sense, and it's the right thing to do if you're in the right part of the brain. But if you're in the wrong part of the brain, your diet's going to fail. Your finances are going to fail. All these things are going to change. So that's called the amygdala hijack. When you're faced with stress, your brain automatically switches from this part to the amygdala, okay? So stress is very, very bad. And that's why I wrote this book called The Stress-Free Diet. More on that in a minute. So we have this thing we call the Stressberg. It's the tip of the Stressberg, okay? A lot of people focus on gaining weight. Well, when you reduce your stress, all these things will go into the right way. But if you have stress all the time, and so many people look at stress as a badge of courage, like, oh, I gotta be moving, shaking, grooving, and this and that, running around here, getting a stop at the caffeine shop on the way to work, and go here, there, constantly moving, being busy all the time. That's not good, okay? When you're constantly in the state of stress, you're gonna gain weight or struggle with your weight, okay? Because when you're in stress, your body's dumping cortisol into you, which is the stress hormone, which basically tells your body to gain weight. And then you eat these unhealthy foods, the fast foods, the high glycemic foods, the comfort foods, which triggers blood sugar spike, which then your body has to bring insulin in to lower the blood sugar so you stay alive. And insulin is a fat storing hormone. And so is cortisol. So if you're in stress, being on a diet and having a healthy weight is going to be very hard. Your physical health is going to suffer, okay? Because stress depletes your immune system. Chronic stress depletes your immune system, okay? And that's why stress is also known as the #1 killer right here, because so many people who develop these serious illnesses are because of stress. Mental health, all right? We just talked about that over there. If you're under stress all the time, you're not thinking from the right part of the brain, okay? You're thinking from the amygdala, which is not going to help you deal with mental things. You're going to develop anxiety and depression, all those things. Then you go on to drugs, and the drugs, maybe they help you, maybe they're not. Maybe they numb you, but they're not fixing the problem. You're in the wrong part of the brain. That's why you have these problems, okay? Behavior issues. Oh, how many people have seen their kids go nutso, or have problems communicating with each other, or they just can't sit still, or they're always reaching for caffeine or something like that. Lots of behavior issues. Shrinks. Our offices are full. There's never been a more time where you, like online counseling and online coaching and stuff. It's a huge industry, but they're dealing with people in this part of the brain. 93% of their clients are out of their right mind. Very few of them are in the 7% range, and those people don't need them. So basically, when you go to one of these coaches or one of these counselors, something like that, they're giving you information. That information is great if you're in this part of the brain. But if you're getting just information and you're in this part of the brain, it's meaningless, okay? You'll talk about your problems, you'll feel a little bit better, but you're very hard to change. And if it did work, we wouldn't have 93% of the people out of their right mind, okay? Relationships. Oh, when you're in a stress response, it's our built-in survival mechanism. You're actually a very self-centered person. Why is that? Because it's survival. Picture, if you're on a ship that's sinking, you're going to be like, well, women and children first, but I really want to get on that lifeboat, okay? You become very self-centered. Well, in relationships, that's where divorces happen. I mean, think about it. Divorce rate's over 50%. Something ain't working there, okay? Because everyone's in a stressed out state. So relation, parent to children, children to parent, people at work, all that kind of stuff. If you're stressed out, relationships are going to really, really suck. Sexual health. When you're in a stress response, your body needs all the energy that it can to fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? It needs that. So it says, look, I'm worried about the moment right now, staying healthy, staying alive. We're not worried about procreating for the next generation. We just got to get away from the tiger, okay? So it shuts down your sexual area. That's why a lot of women who are stressed out can't get pregnant. That's why men develop ED and those kind of things from the stress. And ironically, sex is there for, it's actually one of the best stress reliefs you can have. But then if you're under stress and your sexual areas are shut down, now you don't have the ability to have that stress relief. So that's a double whammy. At work, how many people at work are playing office politics, destroying the culture of a company because they're under stress? And they're becoming self-centered, and they do things for what makes them look good, not what's in best interest of the company. Very, very disastrous thing. I mean, I can't think of the billions of dollars of companies have lost every year in productivity because people are playing office politics. Late for work, sick all the time, health insurance costs a lot more. This is a big money one. Your financial. If you have stress, you're going to be doing instant gratification. You want that dopamine ding. And that is where your finances are going to really have a drain. So many people on credit cards are in credit card debt because of stress, okay? Credit card companies love people who are stressed out because they're going to be in instant gratification mode. They're going to have tunnel vision because they're just focusing on the problem, not the solution, okay? And so they spend money to get themselves to feel better, and then all of a sudden now they get the bill and they're paying interest payments. They're paying 15, 20% on that. Now, why would somebody who has a college education, I'll give you an example, making $140,000 a year, living in an area where it's not that expensive, have credit card debt? But they do. And that's just someone who makes a lot of money. They're obviously smart people. Obviously, a 6-year-old could figure out how to spend your money, okay? You don't need high education. It's stress. Substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, whatever you're going to do, okay? You get the monkey off the back. Stress, chronic stress produces anxiety. Anxiety makes people want to do substance abuse. Some people just have a little bit of issues with it. Some people have a lot, okay? They're legalizing all this stuff. Well, it's because people need it for stress relief. But that's not the right answer. And then lastly, you can have really poor quality of life. If you're stressed out, you're not going to enjoy anything, okay? You're going to get to the next thing. You're buying stuff. You can't enjoy the stuff you're buying. And everything is really, really poor quality of life, okay? And my buddy Dismo says, don't do this. Dismo says, stay away from all these kind of things. So what's the solution, okay? The solution is to get rid of stress. Well, it sounds so simple. A lot of people say, manage your stress, do this, do that. But there is a way to do it. So many people focus on stress relief. And stress relief is good. You go get a massage, you do yoga, go for a walk, you do breathing. All these things are good, but they're stress relief. They're temporary fixes. They're just a Band-Aid approach to the problem. That's my Band-Aid. I think 3 years of art school, I'd do better Band-Aids than that. But the goal is not that, is stress prevention is what you want to do, okay? And that's what this book that I wrote called The Stress-Free Diet is all about. It's about stress prevention, and it will go into the details about stress, and it gives you a thing called stress triggers that we have. And I put 18 in the book. These are common stress triggers. A stress trigger is a person, place, or thing that causes you stress, and this book can do great wonders in getting you out of stress. And where can you buy it? It's available on the world's largest river. And one more thing I forgot to include, very important. You got flight, fight, or freeze. The place we're supposed to be in 99.9% of our life is rest, digest, and restore. That makes it pretty simple. Why wouldn't you want to be like this? Rest, digest, and restore. That's the parasympathetic. This is for the body's 911 system when it dials up automatically 1-800-WHOOP-ASS. Well, this is where we're supposed to be, rest, digest, and restore. And can you imagine living your life in that state all the time? That's what we've been designed to be. As always, thanks for watching.